Dominick Cruz versus Henry Cejudo. I'm in. I am in for so many different reasons. First off, I thought that was the fight that was going to be made before Aldo got put in this. I'm not sure that Aldo didn't win the tip of the hat on that, didn't win the coin toss, if you will, because of the location. Initially, that fight was going to be in Brazil. I think that strengthened Aldo's argument, but I do remember initially Henry Cejudo was calling out Dominick Cruz, and he was calling him out very viciously. Nobody wants to fight Dominick Cruz. Even when Dominick was the world champion, I've won all my fights and I'm the top contender. I guess this is the match I have to do. Okay, let me talk myself into this. But nobody was asking to fight Dominick Cruz. Henry Cejudo might represent the first guy. So, generally when Dominick's name would rise to the top, champions would find reasons why he doesn't deserve it and it should be somebody else. So when Henry starts coming after Dom, this was interesting. This was undone. And Henry was coming at him in what I found to be a funny way. Dominick was likely super annoyed with it, but Henry was coming out and he was talking about, I'm hurt. My shoulder. I'm not going to be able to train that right. I do want to keep fighting, but I need an easy fight. I've had some hard ones. Just, you know what? Just bring me Dominick Cruz. Give me a night off. And, that's mean-spirited. It's condescending. It's somewhat playful, which Henry always has an element of playfulness to him, which I think is one of the reasons the King of Cringe is getting over as far and as quickly as he's getting over. There's always something playful about his attacks. Anyway, when you're Dominick, even if you don't love that you're getting brought up and called an easy fight, boy, you just got called out by the champion. That's the kiss of kisses right there. When the champion calls somebody out, champions don't call somebody out, they get called out. So when it happens in reverse, it can be very helpful. I bring that up for you because when it didn't go to Dominick, I was surprised. Now, back up the tape 5 days. 5 days from right this second when you're hearing this. There was a headline by Henry Cejudo who said, if Aldo can't make the fight, I want Dominick Cruz to be offered his spot. And I saw that, and I'm scratching my head and going, now what am I to make of that? That is a very random statement when you have a match right around the corner. And I realize everything's in turmoil and who knows if those dates are going to come about. But I'm going off the calendar that we at least established at one. This fight's right around the corner. The hell's Henry talk about? If Jose can't make it, I want anyone else, let alone Dominick. What's he talking about? Well, I didn't know. Well, now 5 days later, it's very clear Aldo is out. So now they're trying to put Henry in. I believe I am very confident in coming to you guys and telling you it's going to be Henry versus Dominick. The fine print on that, and I got clarification from Errol Hawani directly, is it has been offered, it has not been accepted, nothing is signed. Okay, great. I feel like we're saying the same thing. If this was offered to Dominick Cruz is now fighting Henry. And there's been some pushback in that division that I strongly disagree. Some of the pushback is guys, like Sandhagen, hey, what's going on with Cody Garbrandt? Why is Jan getting overlooked? I think that these are all fair arguments. Frankie Edgar reasserting himself and yet another title shot. Why are these things happening? Well, that division, in all fairness, outside of Dominick, outside of Frankie, when Dillashaw gets back, Cejudo himself. Look, outside of that, regardless of wins and losses and records, not a lot of people in that division have done a good enough job of making themselves recognizable names. I know we never like to talk about that side of it. I know we always like to talk about it like this is a straight line. Guys, it's not a bracket. MMA's never been a bracket. Boxing has never been a bracket. There are politics in this sport, whether we want to admit it or not. And for some reason, there is a tremendous resistance to the fact that to become a title contender, you must have a mandate of the masses. There is a resistance on that. But there's no resistance in any other part of the sport. People love to discuss the pound-for-pound list. Of this time, of this division, of all divisions, they love the pound-for-pound list. But if you were to go down and ask somebody, okay, what are the qualifications to be on the pound-for-pound list? If you ever come up with one yourself, or you ever read one online, or you ever got a Sports Illustrated, and you've ever seen a pound for any sport, if you make believe anything less than popularity is a requirement to get your name written on that top 10 sheet, you're wrong. Of course it is. When is the last time any of you have ever debated with a friend? So you know what, the best baseball player of all time? Whew. It's not Cal Griffin, it's not Babe Ruth, forget Darryl Strawberry. I had a guy that I knew my freshman year in high school named John Doe. And boy, was this guy talented. No, it doesn't work that way. It always has to do with a level of popularity and notoriety. People are arguing until the end of time who was better, Jordan or LeBron. But fellow basketball players will tell you it was neither. And then they will share their opinion. They will say, look, these guys got the attention, but they had a supporting cast and they had a coach and they had, one of the reasons Jordan had so many points is because of his position. And the same with LeBron. You got to look at some of these other players that don't even shoot the ball, but you got to look at how well they play. I mean, there's a debate and an argument there. However, you're never going to win it unless you have the popularity. It's a very real thing. I think that Sandhagen is absolutely incredible. I think Yaw is absolutely incredible. I don't debate these things, and I don't even suggest for you that their opportunities aren't going to come. Quite the opposite. I can all but assure you, Corey Sandhagen's fighting for a world championship. It's just not going to be next month. I would be bullish on the idea that he is going to fight for a world championship or at least be assigned to a world championship by the end of 2020. So we're saying the same thing. Just make sure there is something to be said for guys like Frank Yeager, who everybody knows, for Dominick Cruz, who's a future Hall of Famer, who is a multiple-time world champ. I've lost track. What, he won 2 UFC world championships? He was a WEC world champion. He might have slipped something else somewhere. How do you deny a guy like that? And particularly when Henry's calling for him. Now, I don't think anybody's pushing back on the idea of Dominick, particularly in the times that we are in right now. But I do think if we weren't in these times, there'd be a little bit of pushback. And I say that because people pushed back on Jose Aldo. Jose Aldo was a little bit more unique. He didn't have this island all to himself. There have been guys before coming off losses that went right into world title fights. That has happened. You look at one of them. Alexander Gustafsson being the other one, of which he then almost won the world championship, I might add. And then it went over to Jose Aldo. So I'm just saying, with these times, there's really something to look forward to this fight, particularly when you look at the storyline. Stories are so important when you're talking about popularity and can something get over. Henry and Dominick are both from the state of Arizona. They used to train together, and to what extent, I don't yet know. They for sure were in the room together. They for sure did practices. They for sure touched each other. I don't know the extent of the sparring just because at that time Dominick was so far ahead. I don't know if a new guy with a dream and an up-and-comer and a lot of potential like Henry could have got rounds with Dominick. I also cannot confirm for you that he didn't. And I think those stories are going to be interesting. I think those stories are going to be fun when they start to come out. But if you do go look at the X's and O's of this fight, there are as many ways that Dominick Cruz gets an upset here. Many. First off is going 25 minutes using that footwork, touching Henry and not getting touched back, which we've seen Dominick do to more than a few people. It would seem that Henry is going to have to close the distance, get his hands on him, drag Dominick down, and do that over and over again. It would seem to me. We can argue and get into the X's and O's as this fight gets a little bit closer, but that's a good fight.